everyone present here today. Just some housekeeping matters. If we can silence all devices, we'd appreciate it. And just to introduce the members of the Fiscal Affairs Committee, to my immediate left, we have Senator Dennis James Mendiola. I am Donald Manglona, Chair for Fiscal Affairs, and to my immediate right, Senator Carl King Neighbors, and to his right is Senator Karina Magofnia, Vice Chair and Floor Leader. Joining the committee, we have Senator Francisco Cruz and Senator Jude House Schneider. And with 4 members present, that constitutes a quorum to proceed with today's committee meeting, and I therefore call this committee meeting to order at 11 o'clock a.m. And so, in moving forward, can I get the motion for the adoption of today's agenda?
So move.
All right, a motion was made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We now open the floor to anyone from the public who wishes to provide comments this morning. And it looks like we have none. And so we proceed with today's agenda. Good morning again to everyone. Today we will finish up with the agencies here in the Municipality of Tinian and Aguigan. We have the Department of Commerce, Department of Labor, Department of Land and Natural Resources, Public Safety, Fire and Emergency Medical Services, and Community and Cultural Affairs. But before we begin, I just want to inform the members and the public that as of today, the House had rejected the House concurrent resolution, which will result in both houses going to a conference committee to iron out the concerns over the House concurrent resolution, which establishes the ceiling for the operations of the government. And so how the result of that conference committee will eventually determine what our available resources will look like in the coming fiscal year. And so hopefully within the next week, we can address that and then try to see how we can assist Tinian in any way. I know there were some discussions yesterday in regards to how we can kind of meet to address Tinian's shortfall. We have several recommendations that I've asked our fiscal analysts to look into to see how we can find additional funds to close that gap. And so those recommendations will be shared. I plan to hold a committee meeting next week to start our allocations and we can kind of see and determine how close we are to meeting the needs of Tinian. Like I've mentioned, for the most part, all personnel from both other districts have been addressed, and so our main concern right now is trying to meet the personnel, at least for the most part, meet the needs of the personnel on Tinian. And so while we finish up today's budget hearing, I understand that all operational requests have not been met. However, this will be the opportunity for the agencies to share some of the needed operational expense that hopefully the legislature can address, if not now, then in any future supplemental budget. And so with that, I'd like to invite our first agency to get settled, and we'll begin from there. And up first, we have Department of Commerce. And at this time, I hand the floor over to the director.
May I?
Please proceed.
Have a day, Chairman Manglonia and member of the Fiscal Affairs Committee. My name is Susan Perez, and I'm the resident department head for Department of Commerce. I want to extend my gratitude for following me allowing me the opportunity to present the issues and concern of our department for fiscal year 2024. As I'm fully aware, the financial challenges the CNMI will have in 2024, I will keep my comments and brief and focus on the department most critical issues. First, although the governor's and House budget proposal for personnel includes all 7 existing FTEs, 3 of the FTEs are budgeted at 90%, while the other 4 budgeted at 100%. Although I understand that only law enforcement employees are exempt from the austerity measures, it is important for this committee to understand that due to the department being short of staff, all FTEs, to include myself, has been cross-trained and participate in law enforcement dealing with ABTC and weight and measure. Second, the budget not include any operation for FY 2024. Again, given the CNMI financial condition, we only requesting the most essential operating expenses to ensure that we can deliver essential public service. These expenses include office rental at 1,300 per month, communication of 600 a month, fuel of 500 a month, and 600 per month for training. Therefore, we request 3,000 for operation a month and an annual FY 24 appropriation of 36,000 for operation. With this appropriation, we will able to train our new personnel, cross-train existing personnel, and perform the duties mandated for all our division to include ABTC, weight and measure, and statistics. Thank you again for allowing me to identify the most critical needs of my department, and I am ready to answer or address any question or concern you may have.
Thank you, Director Perez. I'd just like to begin with just asking if your department has any revolving fund accounts, and if so, what's the current balance in those accounts?
Okay, as of today, the current balance of my revolving account, which is the 1959C, is $9,072.20.
What fund is this?
This is the ABTC account, the revolving account that where we get our ABTC, alcohol, tobacco, and betel nut funds.
Is that your only revolving fund account?
Yes, sir.
Um, yeah, around 9,700. No. You don't receive any of the fees from any filing fees?
For the business, for the license for alcohol and tobacco, yes, we do.
No, but like any corporate fees or
Annual report, you meant?
yes.
Yes, we do, but that's not going to my account. That goes to the central account, which is Saipan. They're the one who has that account.
Saipan Commerce?
Yes.
There's no sub accounts for Tinian?
No, supposed to be. I should have,
Okay.
but I never received in a years.
What would you say would have been your balance? Or how much do you collect annually on this revolving fund?
Yes, I do have. It's like 6,600 a year.
So this 9,000 would have been for the previous years, not just
The reason why I have 9,000 there because I never touch it since a revolving account. So a lot of times, like when they don't give me any money for operation, that's what I use to survive. So that's the reason why I still have that money in there. But usually I only collect for a year, 6,700. It all depends if how many licenses will come in. 6,700 for 2022, And 2023, we still, uh, I don't have it, but I know 2022 is 6,700.
Okay, so is this inclusive of your beetle nut
Yes, that's
licenses?
everything together.
Now, earlier you mentioned that all your employees are cross-trained, but all your do all your other employees have the enforcement power? That's the question.
Yes, like the weight and measure, the statistic. I have 3 officer at ABTC and myself.
But do these employees have the authority to issue fines and
They are trained to take care of like licenses and the admin everyday admin work. But the ABTC, I have 3 of them. They are trained, and including myself.
okay.
Three only yourself.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
yeah.
law enforcement. So I think of the three, only herself that's been certified for law enforcement duties.
No, the 3 is certified, including myself.
To do law enforcement?
Yeah.
So all seven are
No, we have 3 enforcement
right.
for ABTC to do the enforcement.
But what about
I
the
thought there was four. You have the trainee also.
One is not yet in.
Earlier you mentioned there were four at 100%. Those should have been all law enforcement personnel.
Yeah, including the weight and measure, sir.
So Dylan's the necklace is the weight measures.
Okay.
So she takes on that enforcement role.
Okay.
And she's at 100%.
Yeah,
And then the three
3 enforcement,
law
yeah,
enforcement.
Okay.
for ABTC.
Um, I'll take a short recess, 1 or 2 minute recess. Get clarification because I think we're trying to pull up our notes from our ROTA hearing, and I think there were 2 revolving fund accounts at least for commerce, and so I'm trying to figure out what the other account is. And so while our LB staff looks into it, we'll go ahead and proceed, and then if they are able to locate that or clarify, then we'll bring that up. But in the meantime, if we aren't able to locate it now, we'll reach out to your department to try to get a more accurate accounting of that. At this time, I'd like to open the floor to any of the members. I recognize Senator Carl.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, Director. Thank you for making the time to be here with us this morning. Just a couple of quick questions regarding the communications request. So that's inclusive of, could you spell out what all falls under your communications?
Communication is our internet, our landline, and the two cell phones.
Um,
Sorry, who are given these cell phones?
I have one and one of my officer, the ABTC.
Thank you.
So I know you spelled out some of your concerns with regards to the operational needs, regarding fuel, communications. Are there any other glaring issues that you would like to bring to the committee's attention?
I think that's it.
Okay. I'll yield for now, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. I recognize Senator McGoffin.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Director, for being here. Just a follow-up question on the revolving accounts. So, the corporate annual reporting fees that you collect, that you said it goes into Saipan's account, but do you have a separate accounting of how much Tinian collects, so that you know we know how much Tinian collects?
I have it in the office. I don't have it on hand, but I can send it to you guys through email.
Okay, do you have a rough estimate as to how much you've collected for the fiscal year 23?
Okay, I might have it here. Hold on a second. We don't have the same number every year because ever since they have this law that when you are not going to renew your annual report within March, you have what we call the penalty.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have a big collection that was 2021 and 2022. But usually, hold on, let me just see if I have it here, but I think I might have it here. I remember for 2021, we collected over 20,000. But prior to that, maybe about half of it, 5,000.
So would you say it has decreased from
Actually, prior to 2021 and 2022, we collect like $5,000
a month or annually?
annually.
Oh, annually. Okay.
So on the year 2021, we collected over 20,000 because of the penalties.
Got it. Okay. So in 2023, you have
We don't have it yet because we're still collecting. So there are still some people coming in, the corporation who didn't renew on time, they're still coming in. So we still don't have that amount.
you don't have an amount that you collect when they come in to renew?
No, we don't have the annual amount yet
Oh.
for 2023.
But year to date or fiscal year, like beginning October through the month of August, you don't have an estimate as to how much you've already collected?
I don't have it on hand,
Okay.
but I can send it
Okay.
to you guys through email.
Okay. Not a problem. That's all, Chair. I yield.
Thank you. I recognize Senator Mendiola.
So of this corporate account or this corporate fees that gets collected by Central, do you guys get any assistance from Central Commerce in terms of any operational needs here in the municipality?
They help us sometimes, like when we need to get our officer to Saipan to get their training. They do pay any training outside CNMI. They pay. So I do help. I do get help from Saipan,
Okay, so roughly,
and also like if we have festival and I'm short of staff, they sent the ABTC officer, like the last one that we had. So they sent two officers to help me to enforce the law.
so on those assistants, if you translate that to dollar amount, would you would you be able to correlate that with the amount that you've collected, or is there still an excess amount that is owed that has not been remitted to Tinian? Or
I really don't know yet because actually the annual report collection and all the renewal of the corporation and certificate, I do believe that 25% of that collection supposed to go to Rhoda and Tinian, but I don't have that I received in the past.
Okay.
And maybe you guys can help me to do collect my money.
Okay. Thank you. Are you for now? Sure.
Thank you, Senator Mondula. Our Ellie was able to pull out something that was mentioned under Commerce Rota. Are you familiar with Business Unit 1959?
Yes.
And is that the? Do you know what this?
Yeah, this is the one, the revolving
is?
account that I just mentioned, that I had 9,072 and 20 cents. That's what we have for as of today. I got this figure from the finance.
So this is one, and then this is the other. Yeah. Okay. I think there has to be some kind of open discussion with the acting Secretary of Commerce. I think the last report that I got for the corporate fee, and this is an unofficial reporting of the fund status balance, that there's a $2 million balance in that account.
Yeah, I know.
But this is not reconciled balance with the JD and the Munis. So I'm not sure what the balance is today. But if this is where all corporate fees gets deposited into, then what do you call this? There has to be a sub account, at least for Road and Tinian. There's a couple of other revolving fund accounts, for example, the NAIC dues. Does Tinian get any of that?
No.
The filing fees, and these are just. So right now I have listed here 4 revolving fund accounts: the NAIC dues, the filing fees. There's no, and then there's a corporate registration fee, and then there's the Beetle Nut fee. So there's a separate account for the Beetle Nut, and then there's a separate account for filing fees. Do you know if you have access to any of that?
No.
Okay. Now, since Mr. Perez is here, I just wanted to clarify that yesterday you mentioned of the ARPA balance, 215K was set aside for office rentals, and I'm assuming this is for the entire municipality, all agencies. So we can kind of take out that 1,300 a month. Okay. Any other members? Have any of your communications been disconnected, or are you current on your billing?
Oh, actually, I'm advance paid. I paid in advance. When I got my ARPA money, I went ahead and paid for 1 year.
ARPA prior to the 2.7?
Before, when they released our ARPA money,
Okay.
I went ahead and purchased my what do you call the CUC
Okay.
load and my communication.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else from the members? I recognize Senator Mendiola.
Just wanted to clarify something. So the chairman just mentioned that there's 4 office and revolving accounts, and I'm assuming that you guys are only dealing with 1959,
59C. Yeah.
correct? So any collection in the municipality goes to that account, or between the corporate that you don't see in this account.
No. The 1959C only the business license for alcohol and tobacco.
Okay.
That's all. I mean the
Alcohol license.
alcohol license. I'm sorry. I'll take
So
that
what about
back.
the bidonat fee?
We don't see that.
Okay, but do you collect?
We collected here, they paid here, and it goes to a separate
Okay.
account.
Okay, just wanted to clarify
Yeah.
because it sounded like there's 4 revolving accounts, and you guys only deposit into 2, and one of them you don't see. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Okay. Last round for any of the members. All right. At this time, Director Paris, thank you for. Oh, sorry, recognize Senator Cruz.
Because I'm not a member of the fiscal. When you say member, I thought that.
Please feel free to.
First of all, Mr. Chairman and members of the fiscal fair, thank you for allowing a non-member of the fiscal fair to participate on this important public hearing. And good morning, Director. I
Morning,
know you
Senator.
mentioned earlier about FTs. Did you request an additional FTs to the for this fiscal year 2024? Do you include an additional FTs for commerce?
No,
Okay, so you're not understaffed at the moment.
actually, if they will go ahead and fund all my FTEs, I will be okay because I can always ask a Saipan for help.
Okay, so I know that we mentioned, and everybody knows that we have financial situation with Pakamua. With the FY23, are you still continue to deliver the best services to our business community?
Yes, we do.
So with FY23, can you go within that budget level? Can you
Yes.
live with that budget level?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. In line with that, does Commerce utilize any of the MOUs from the mayor?
I do have one MOUs.
Okay.
I used to have one, and then later on, I converted into FTEs when she was trained. So now she's one of my officers. She used to be a police officer, so it's so easy to put
To
her as an
use the
enforcer.
same certification.
Yeah, I have one MOU right now.
Okay. And what purpose does that MOU serve?
The purpose of MOU is to help out within the admin.
Okay. So not more of an administrative assistance
Yes.
instead of an enforcement. Senator Cruz?
And in line with the question that I asked earlier, with your submission to the administration and your request versus the governor's submission, are you reduced
For
for FY24? Are you reduced from your budget level FY23? Are you when you submit FY24? Are you reduced, or you're not reduced by the governor's proposal?
actually, they didn't give me anything
But you're not reduced.
for the salary you meant, or
Yeah, for your budget. Are you compared to what you have right now, FY 2023? When the governor submitted to the legislature, is that proposed? Is it reduced? Your number, your FY 23 reduced for FY 2024, or within the same level? Okay, thank you, Chairman.
Recognize Senator Mandiola.
So just further clarification, I think in line of Senator Cruz, I think the governor's budget proposal gave you, the Department of Commerce, the FTEs, right?
yeah,
Like
they,
it's still in there.
Yeah.
It's the only thing reduced is really just, or removed, is operational
yes,
funds. Okay, just wanted to clarify.
yes.
Yeah, and just again to add on to that, it was for the most part the personnel was maintained. However, the House had recently further reduced the RDHs by close to 5,000, and this is applicable to the two districts, Rhoda and Tinian. Recognize Senator Jude.
Just more on operational side, if I may. Everyone's, and thank you, Director, for the presentation, Chief, and everybody else, directors and members of the Mayor's staff. Councilman Cabrera, thanks for joining us today, sir. But I guess on the more on the operational side, Director, do you see an uptick in like activities as a result of the the influx of, like, for example, the projects that are coming in with additional people? Do you see a difference in terms of responding, or the level of responsibility has expanded? Is there any indication just yet, or it hasn't really shown?
Actually, yeah, we do experience more businesses coming in from off island, and more corporation coming in, non-profit coming in to do their clearance and licenses. That's the reason why we request one MOU so that we will able to serve the best we can to the community.
Okay. All right. Okay. So yeah, so just trying to tie in the question that was asked earlier by, I believe, Senator Cruz, regarding the budget level, no, from 2023 to that of the services that you provide plus what you requested. So, okay, thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Thank you, Senator Jude. If there's nothing else from the members, we'd like to thank you for your time, Director Perez. And at this time, if there's anything else that we've missed, or if there's something that you felt to mention today, please feel free to reach out to the committee members. You are hereby excused for the rest of the day. Okay. Up next, we have the Department of Labor. The Department of Labor submitted a budget request for personnel at 270,000, but the governor's proposal is listed at 234,000. For the most part, for operations, they are requesting for rental offices, but again, this has been clarified that these could be addressed through ARPA, and so it looks like the other expenses are reasonable. And so one thing I want to point out is that while the Department of Labor requested for 7 FTEs, the revised budget, it seemed, included 2 unfunded positions, which the governor's proposal maintained. And so Department of Labor can employ up to 9, provided that they seek funding elsewhere to cover the 2 additional FTEs that are unfunded. All law enforcement within the Department of Labor has been restored to 100%, and all administrative positions are kept at 90. And so at this time, if there are any concerns with the budget proposal, and if Labor had the opportunity to review the House submission, this would be the opportunity to share any concerns. And so at this time, I recognize Department of Labor.
Good morning. Good morning, honorable members of the Senate Standing Committee on Fiscal Affairs. My name is Jace Nicholas, and I am the resident department head for Sinamay Department of Labor on Tinian. I'm here to discuss with you our department's budget concerns. I acknowledge the amount allocated for operations. However, I am concerned that it may be insignificant. By that, I am referring to basic monthly recurring expense, office space rental at $1,000 a month, communications at 170, office and operational supplies at 700. Our utilities, as you know, we don't have budget for that. And just recently, I have one vacant FTE. As of August 5th, the individual resigned. And we are just waiting on personnel if we can, OPM, if we can start doing the hiring process. And that right now is only my concern.
Sorry, I'm not sure if you mentioned. Can you state your name for the record?
Jace Nicholas.
Thank you, Director Nicholas. Like I mentioned, the request is minimal, but and it is reasonable. I think maybe my question for you is, does your office receive any assistance in regards to CW fees?
No.
Have you communicated with the secretary to see if your office can avail of any of those fees?
As of this day, not yet.
Have you ever received assistance in the past in regards to CW fees?
No.
And so the one position that became vacant recently, nothing has been done yet in regards to announcement.
No, not yet. We're waiting on OPM.
Okay. Do you have any data on the unemployment rate within the municipality?
Not not right now.
Okay. The, I guess the presentation or forum or the one that happened yesterday, is that a Department of Labor activity?
Yes.
Yeah, is that like is that like a job fair or
Yes,
is
it's
that-
a job fair for the island of Tinian, which we had
Was there a lot of
MNTI, OVR. The guys also came down yesterday.
and you sat in throughout that presentation?
No.
Do you have any idea of how many showed up to try to
The
get more information on job opportunities?
the clients that came in yesterday was about 29, which is surprising to me.
Okay. Do you know how many positions are being advertised on a? I mean, what will be in 1 year? How many positions are being advertised as required for CW workers?
I don't know anything about the small business, but like you say the casino now. The casino,
Huh?
they come to my office with their advertisement. So we know that they're looking for cooks, the numbers of how many cooks, dealers, and whatnot, whoever they need to hire for that company.
Do you know how many positions that are requesting or looking for to fill?
I know that they're looking for 12 dealers. I don't know management. I don't know, but they just put down what they need. They don't give us the numbers of how many personnel they need for each position.
Is there a commitment to say maybe having 90% of the workforce being local, or is there that requirement? Or
Right now, the casino here in Tinian is looking at trying to get more locals than CW.
okay. What about WIA? Do you know how many are under the WIA program?
Right now, I believe Fire DPS is trying to communicate with WIA, but I'm not sure how many positions.
You don't know how many are currently employed under the
No,
WIA?
I know only of one,
One.
which she's stationed at my department.
And there's no revolving fund accounts for
No.
labor. At this time, I open the floor to any of the members. Recognize Senator Carl.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Director. Thank you for your time this morning. Uh, s- since the revised budget of the FY23, revised and reenacted, how have you guys been paying for your operational needs, fuel, rent, etc.?
We request to the mayor's office.
Everything through the mayor's office. Okay. Have you guys ever experienced any issues with disconnections with regards to?
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
When was the most recent?
I believe it was 2 weeks ago.
And this was with regards to
Communication,
so internet, phone,
internet, phone.
and how long was that down for?
A week and a half.
Do you guys have a current balance with CUC or the internet telephone provider?
I think we do have outstanding
Balances.
balances because of the late fees the munis is going through.
Okay. And absent of any funding, obviously this will get reverted
Yes.
back to the mayor's office, right?
Yes.
This includes fuel. You guys have any funding for the vehicle? Do you guys have vehicles at
Yes,
Labor?
yes, yes.
How many vehicles do you guys have?
Only one.
Only one? And that payment for the fuel is
Mayor's office.
mayor's office. Okay. Okay. That's it. Thank you, Mr.
What vehicle do you have for labor?
Mazda 6, I believe.
It's a sedan.
Sedan.
Okay. Yeah, because one of the requests from Rhoda Labor is all-terrain, maybe to like access sites, right? But your comms expense is very minimal. You're requesting for 1,900 a year. How is it that were faced with disconnection? Are you behind on payments?
We're behind on payments.
By how much?
I'm not sure because my admin, when she pays the monthly bill, I believe it takes time for munis to pay the company. So in our next billing, we're charged with late fees, which is out of my control.
I get that, but I think there are some special considerations for government accounts to kind of go past 1 or even 2 months of unpaid bills. But with ARPA that ended last fiscal year, I would assume your bill would have probably you've been incurring charges at least in the start of this fiscal year.
I believe we were late 3-4 months.
Okay. Recognize Senator Carl.
Just a follow-up. So just to clarify, you process the payment on time, but because of the processing system, you incur late fees that contribute to the running balance.
Yes.
Thank you. And I understand your concern. I stated this yesterday that there has been communications going on with trying to get the Department of Finance, the local Department of Finance, to have more authority over processing. And so hopefully by the end of the year, we can kind of get that addressed. I recognize Senator Mendiola.
I only have one question. Just for clarification, it looks like when I was just adding up your operational expenses, it's roughly about 12,000. I don't know if this is if it's on purpose. It seems like you requested for $1,000 for fuel. And I guess what I was going to allude to is pretty much your department relies on the mayor's office heavily just for operational expenditure.
Yes, since we don't have a budget for the remainder of this year.
And this was your 23 fiscal budget as well?
Yes.
So you cannot just carry that over to 24 budget?
No, we don't have any.
Meaning you were budgeted in fiscal year 2023. And when you were budgeted, it looks like you just carried over the same budgeting, which is...
Yeah. Budget request, yes.
Just wanted to clarify that because, like I said, you kind of just made our work really easy by being very modest on your requests. Some agencies, your operational expenditure is roughly 13,000 only. The one thing that makes it higher is your office rental. So, anyways, thank you for that. You for now, Chair.
Any other members? All right. I think one thing that I want to kind of recommend and advise is try to reach out to Secretary Staffler, see if there's some way you can tap into CW fees, the administrative fees from the CW fee allocation. And if you're having any difficulties there, please let us know, and we'll try to see how we can kind of push some of those funds over. And so at least to help with some of your operational needs. All right. If there's nothing else from the members, sorry, I recognize Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Chairman. I asked the same question because I understand that we cannot, afford to continue to subsidize, no? Because based on, that's why I continue to ask this, because I hope that instead of decreasing the 2023 budget for 2024, we have to stay within that. Do you continue to deliver the services on your department within the 23? I know you asked an additional 1,000, right?
Yes.
And I understand that mostly all the department are relying on the mayor's office for fuel. So with that number that you have for 2023, can you live within that uh, number for
For
2024?
24, I can try, and if it's unsuccessful with the help of the secretary, then I will of course have to go to the mayor's office for assistance. But I can try with the whatever budget that's given to me for 2024.
You can live within that, but not reduce.
Not just don't reduce.
Thank you, Chairman.
Uh, Thank you, Senator Cruz. I recognize Vice Chair and then Senator Jude.
Thank you, Chairman. So I'm just curious, any reason why you don't seek assistance, funding assistance from the Department of Labor in Saipan and not put so much burden on our mayor? I mean, he's already dealing with a lot of other issues, and every time we take away money from his budget, that also, cripples his, like he already has financial commitments too. So I'm just curious if there was any reason why you are not asking for financial assistance from the Department of Labor in Saipan.
Because I believe the mayor's office works more faster than the Saipan.
Okay.
So
Have you attempted
yes, I
to?
tried to bring it up with the secretary at one time,
Okay.
but I guess she can only help me out with the upcoming trainings.
Oh,
We
so
have
only
trainings coming
trainings,
up,
not
yeah.
your other operational needs.
Operation, I haven't reached out to her yet about the operations.
Okay, I would like to encourage you that you reach out to Secretary Staffler. She is very helpful, and like the chairman said, if you're having challenges, please let one of us know so that we can help push for that need. But I'm also trying to help the mayor in alleviating, some of the financial assistance that he's providing, because I just learned that he's taking care of almost every department on the island. So if you could reach out to your respective counterpart on Saipan, that would be great.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask what was some of the requests you've made to Secretary, and was this current Secretary?
Yes. Just
Can you share what are some of the?
she's reaching out on helping us in our what's that trainings for the upcoming changes with the Marinas labor. I think now it's going to be Marinas higher Marinas, which she's going to train the employment services and along with the labor enforcement.
Okay, so she will assist with
Yes,
the
she will, she
training
will.
update. Okay, Senator Jude, you had a question.
Thank you, Chairman and Director. Good morning.
Morning.
Just more on the operational side, just for us to kind of get the timeline of processing of, let's say, for example, someone resigns or you've given an FTE and you process the needed documents for it to go to the what's the typical time frame that you have to from A to Z, meaning like you
Start, finish.
send this and you hire, did all the interview, then you actually let the individual report to work.
Now it's you say about 4 or 5 months.
4 to 5 months.
That's how it happened with our Wayne.
That's when I got a call from you, no?
Yeah.
Okay. So is that like about last year or 2 years ago? Is that
No, this is the first time it went that long.
okay? Yeah, but the reason why I asked this, Director and Chairman, is I see the proposal by our colleagues in the House that they're going to strip the funds that are, that appears to be vacant, but in actuality, it's in motion for it to be filled.
To be fair, yes.
So I think as a note for this committee is to pay attention to that, and I encourage the agencies. And I forgot, Mayor, to mention this yesterday, Lo. I think we need to navigate through this because it's important that we update almost to the last day, and I hate to say it, to the last month of the fiscal year, all the active employees, even if you start, especially the ones that you just said that you're gonna hire to refill, that you update it, because we don't want to go into a budget passing something and the person or the individual's salary is not there. That would be an injustice for anyone. So, and just to kind of circle back on what the Director San Nicolas had just reviewed, and that's troubling to hear. And it takes 5 meses for one person to and a small agency, and I'm sure he's trying to conduct all his services. As we want to push a lot of our people to over to the private sector, but we also need to support the Department of Labor locally here to be able to bridge that gap. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back. Thank you, Director J.
Thank you, Senator Jude. I recognize Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Director, I apologize, Mr. Chairman, if you mentioned earlier, but there's the reason why this committee continues to mention about the CW fee, because we used to give to the education institution like NMC, high school, the NMTI, but we changed it and we gave it to labor to administer that fund. So that I think it's important that you reach out to them.
Yes,
know that-
which of the
I know
secretary.
that the mayors are very fast to assist, but I think you should take advantage of that, because I think all the senatorial district are entitled to that fund, because we move it to labor to administer that, the Secretary of Labor. So reach out to the secretary and find out how they can be able to assist with what you need, as long as it's justify why the U.S. government giving us that CW fee to be prepared for our workforce in the event that they face short of CW. So take advantage of that.
Yes, I will
Thank you,
look
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Cruz. If there's nothing else from the members, just a closing question. Do you have any open cases
Right now I have two.
to have recently opened, or are they still under
One is being
waiting for hearing?
settled, trying to settle out with the hearing office, and one is just got referred to the hearing officer.
Okay. On average, in a year, how many complaints does the department receive
5 or 6.
a year on
A
average? Okay. And how's that? How's the resolution with the hearing officer? I know. Do they come down from Saipan? Or?
No, we go through Skype.
Okay. And have a lot of the cases have been closed in
Yes.
prior years. Okay. Thank you. With that, thank you for your time, Director Sir Nicholas. If there's anything we missed, please feel free to reach out to the committee. You are hereby excused. And at this time, we'll take a 5-minute recess to allow everyone here to defrost. And short recess. And up next, we have the Department of Land and Natural Resources, the DLNR, which is, or there are four divisions under this agency. We have soil and water conservation, um, parks and recreation, agriculture, and fish and wildlife. Overall, the department submitted a request for 817,000. And the governor's proposal provides for 510,000, so there's a 307,000 decrease in the budget request. Um, I'm just trying to look at some of the big ticket items under the operations, but it looks like fuel seems to be the much needed operational expense, um, with the exception of, or in addition to a vehicle request that I see for Parks and Recreation. But we have fuel for one division at 25,000. That's Fish and Wildlife. Agriculture is requesting for 30,000 for fuel, and then 50,000 in equipment. And so it looks like the personnel, for the most part, was maintained. They did request one FTE for, sorry, yeah, one FTE for soil and water, but the governor's proposal took that out. All other divisions were maintained. And so at this time, I'd like to hand the floor over to the director, Director Borja, and I recognize, I also like to acknowledge Councilman Cabrera. And so at this time, Director Borja, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of this committee, Ways and Means Committee. Welcome to Tinian. Mr. Chairman, since I came into the Department of Lands and Natural Resources 9 years ago, the department was never given anything new, except for the 2 tractors, which we purchased in 2015. The boat we currently have is over 25 years old. Luckily that we were given a Zodiac, but even with that, it's over 15 years old. Stripped with everything, including wiring, steering wheels, water pump, and most of all, no boat engine. So we got this boat right now at Roland Johnson on Saipan, trying to get it repaired at a cost of 39,000 something dollars. So it's almost 40,000. That, Mr. Chairman, with all this cut that we have, I don't think we can afford to pay the cost. So I am also asking if that can be possible. If not, then we cannot enforce the wildlife laws, and we're pretty wide on our responsibility on Tinian because we got a gig one included as part of our responsibility. We enforce diving with scuba tanks, but right now it's very rampant that people are fishing with scuba tank. So we don't have a boat. In the future, we are getting one 33.4 footer from the aging center on Saipan to be transferred to the LNR with the condition that we haul cargoes for the aging program on Rhoda and Tinian. So it's almost like a loan basis, you know. So that costs fuel also. So that's why we mentioned that operation is our most critical areas on our budget line. Tractors, we service farmers and ranchers here, mostly ranchers, and at times we do have breakdown, and we have to. Luckily, that we have the ARPA funding before, and that's what we use for repairs and tires, you know, and fuel. But without those funding, I guess from now on we have to depend on the mayor's office or MBA because we support MBA by cleaning close to 30 sites. We help them mow that area, and at times we help them bush cutting, or we open new, or they open a new site, which we also have to mow that area. And sometimes we use our manpower to extend the clearance of that the historical site. So, at the end, everything is based on mostly on operation. We need for fuel and tires and whatever we need for the tractors and vehicles. By the way, with crowns for vehicles. If any department decommission their vehicle, we end up getting them so that we can use them for parts on our vehicle that had breakdown. So that's how we survive. We don't have a vehicle at all. Fish and Wildlife only got one vehicle, the SUV, and and that is used around the clock, 24 hours a day. Uh, so when we only have a vehicle in the office to use if Fish and Wildlife is not out there patrolling. So we do run errands with that vehicle also. So it's working like 24 hours a day. So eventually it's gonna break down, and we need parts for that. Yeah, and we do have 3 vacancies on the Fish and Wildlife because we at the present we only have 2. So we do have 3 vacancies. That is, 2 is being announced. One is in the process of what I should say, starting work soon. We're just awaiting the paperwork from personnel. But the 2 there we are announcing right now because at the beginning, at first we announced the 2 conservation officer, one, but people applied, but they're not qualified. So we re-announced the position, but we lowered it down so somebody can be qualified. So we're anticipating to get 3 at least soon, I hope. And I'm ready for any question if you may have.
Thank you, Director Bora. I just want to start off with maybe your revolving fund accounts. What accounts do you have, and what are the balances you have on
Yes,
those accounts?
we do have revolving funds. We got 3 revolving funds account. Uh, on the mowing service, which is account number 60-6017, Munis is showing that we only have $576. Our file at DNR, we got 6,172. So I don't know where the rest of the money went, but that's what we have under Munis 576. Under the LNR file, we have 6,172.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members. For the record, my name is Stephen Caber. Just a minor revision to what the Director Borja has stated with the mowing service. Uh, I was I overlooked. I thought I was mistaken, but the Munich showing 576. So looking at our records, only fiscal year 2022 to the current as of July last month. Compiling our file, it shows a total collection of 6,108. When I had my staff went to finance to inquire regarding this, she was told that the munis has yet to be updated and the responsibility falls with Saipan Finance. So that's the major big difference, munis versus our record. Again, that's account 6017. For account 6046, which is the fish and wildlife permits and licenses, Munis is showing 1,436.50. For this account, there's just a minor difference. Our record is showing a total balance of 1,875 according to our records. So the last revolving account is the cattle slaughter permit. This one is very problematic for the reason that we've been collecting, but it's not showing in the munis because my staff was advised that it was placed under miscellaneous. However, I would like to add also that for the cattle slaughter permit, combining from fiscal year 2021 to the present, we have a total of 302.50 cents. Are you back, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Councilman and Director. The one that you have under Fish and Wildlife, is that the Fish and Game Revolving Fund, the overall, and then that's your sub
Yes.
account? Do you have anything under Equipment Services?
Equipment service?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the one under account 60.
the mowing?
The agriculture equipment revolving fund.
Mowing, okay. What equipments do you have under agriculture?
Presently, we have 2 tractor mowers and 2 riding mowers.
So no disking equipment, or do you have accessories to that tractors?
Yes, we do have the accessories for the tractors. We got the disc, the plow, and some one what they call a tiller that is operated by the tractor.
But are you charging for these services, or you're providing them
Yes,
free?
we're charging. we're charging $12 an hour. That's Commonwealth wide. But I don't know how we can try to raise it up a little bit. Because I remember at one time Saipan had raised their price, I mean their rates, but they finally had to lower it down to $12 an hour. So I think it's either a law or yeah, a law that was established way back that in order to support the farmers, they have to lower it down. But that was when the fuel
Was at a much
yeah, it's
cheaper
way
rate. Yeah.
down.
I think it might be through regulation, but we'll verify it and we can try to assist in trying to increase the rate to meet the today's market price for fuel. But I think if it's done through regulation, then I think that discussion needs to be had with Secretary Sylvan. The You said for fish and wildlife, you don't have you currently don't have a boat in an operable boat. It's in Saipan
That's
for.
very true.
So how are you enforcing?
We don't. We only enforce the on land, not on out in the water, because we have, like I said, we have one vehicle that patrols around the island, but we cannot enforce the law outside the island of Tinian, like Goat Island, and
So you don't journey out to Goat Island
what is that?
currently? You don't go out to Goat Island
No,
currently?
no, not right now. We don't have a boat.
What's this that you mentioned with the future plans of aging boat? Is that, have you come to an agreement or is that still in discussion?
No, we did an agreement. In fact, we're gonna bring it down to Tinian on Monday. Uh, this boat was once belonged to the Navy, and during the last administration, I believe they had given it to the DCCA for the aging program, the aging on Saipan. I guess so they had to give it away. And when I heard that they're giving it away, I asked my secretary, since we don't have a boat right now, can we get it? Can we have the boat? And he said he'll work on that. So I finally signed an agreement 2 days ago, but with the condition that we help them to bring cargoes for the Manamco here and Rota. So
But no funding assistance
no
for the
funding,
fuel.
and this is why the operation should be a little bit higher because we need the fuel for this boat.
From my understanding, with the aging, there was a grant used to purchase boats for that purpose to transport, um, you know, uh, supplies for aging on Tinian and Rhoda. So if they're passing on that responsibility to your office, I think there has to be an agreement that they'll also assist in providing for the fuel expenses. Otherwise, they're passing on the purpose of that grant over to you, and you're not benefiting, or they're not offering assistance to assist in, other than providing the boat, and they're not offering that fuel assistance. Do you know if this is separate from that grant that was used to purchase that boat?
They do have another boat, Mr. Chairman, and this is occasionally that they're asking us to or I told them we would be more than happy to assist them if they need to bring something to Tinian or Rhoda, and that we agree. But they do have another boat on Saipan, which is a newer boat.
Thank you. Mayor, I see that you, is there something you want to share?
Just wanted to shed light on that issue. This is one of the bigger boats that was, I believe, through a conversation with Walter Manglonia, and years last year, they bought this boat out of a grant, both boats, and one was for to lessen the impact of fees, cargo fees, by sending frozen and some stuff to the Malomco for road and Tinian, because at that time they were getting close to 90,000 in just shipping to make sure that the Malomco for road and Tinian gets their supplies. I think that the intention is very good as long term, no. But I guess the one of the things that have developed, and I just heard it yesterday, was I believe DCCA is going to for Tinian and Roda is going to stop cooking on site, and there's a push for uh, for a uh, private company to come in and do the cooking. So then it lessens the burden of using the boat, the frequency of using the boat for Tinian and Roda. And I think that's one of the move, no, for water, is to offload it. But at the same time, I've spoken to the director and make sure that we will. One of the conditions was to continue to assist in some other forms, no, for not for food, but maybe for supplies, for toiletries, uh, some bigger items that might not only go for the Manamco, but also for the whole entire department, for DCCA, Tinian and Moda. If there is monthly or quarterly uh, to be used in consideration for DCCA. At the same time, the arrangement is for Fish and Wildlife Tinian to be using those that boat for survey, for more frequent trips to Tinian and enforcement. That was the total package of what is in consideration for this uh, uh, transaction.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying, Mayor.
And I wanted to go back a little bit on the fees, and we've discussed this with the delegation. Some of the fee structures for fishing and hunting on Tinian, and to the point of the slaughter permits are so outdated. And this discussion is moving forward, and we are going to raise some of these fees that are locally driven laws, because it's the cost of slaughtering a cow is not the same as the cost of slaughtering a cow back then in
Right.
the 70s, because the slaughter permit its inception and its history was back then. Jones had uh, lots of cows, and the industry was very much successful than what it is right now. And that's why it was only like a $5 slaughter permit, onto $2.50 slaughter permit. And that slaughter permit is still in existence. So we need to pick it up, especially now when we're pushing for a slaughterhouse, our USDA certified slaughterhouse, where you bring your cow, we'll slaughter, we'll butcher, put it there, you get USDA stamp. All of this process is has a cost to it, and at the end of the day, it's no longer at $3, $2.50 per pound. It's now you're marketing at a USDA brand, grass fed, a high commodity. Now you can pick it up to $5, $6, $7, depending on which market are you targeting. So definitely, in any way that your committee can assist us in pushing some of these fees, we're more than happy.
Thank
And
you.
we'll send me the comment into the particulars.
Thank you. And we'll confirm whether it's being done through statute or through regulation. But I think for the most part, a lot of these fees, like hunting fees, are more of a regulatory um, yeah, discussion that needs to be made with the secretary. But we'll confirm. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Um, I want to bring your attention to Parks and Recs. You currently have 3 employees under that division.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, but we we use one of their operator to support us in the heavy equipment site. We do have three.
Now, all of these are listed as equipment operators. Are these also the ones that go out and maintain these sites?
Yes, we do maintain the parks and the tourist site. We
Okay.
do it for MBA. A lot of times they'll call for an assistance, and we will go out and do it. Uh, Even equipment or manpower, we do go out and help them boost up the area.
Have you had any discussions with DPL to see if they can cost share on these employees, like how Saipan has an MOA with DPL?
You know, Mr. Chairman, at the beginning, they wanted to take the parks and recreation for them to run the parks and recreation. I don't know what happened to that, but I'll take your advice and see if they can make a decision as to helping us with fuel at least, you know.
Yeah. I think that's because currently the Saipan Parks and Recs is being funded through DPL. Their salaries are being covered at 50%. All they do is bill DPL at the end of the day, and that goes to fund um, the executive branch employees. And so I think if there's if you can begin that conversation with Secretary Santos, maybe we can also have that MOA extended to Rhoda and Tinian to address some of these personnel costs. That way, that could also free up funds for your operational needs. The soil and water conservation, it looks like you did. It's kind of weird in the budget submission. It's showing on one end the total is at your request is at 0, but on another end it's listed as 1. But the governor's proposal took that away. Do you have someone currently employed in that division?
No, we don't have. That's why we're asking for one employee. We just recently formed the Tinian Soil and Water Conservation, because I believe by law we must have one, each island. So Saipan are well organized, and we were organized, but two had moved out. Resigned and worked someplace else. But we don't have an employee at all to run that program.
You haven't had one in the past?
No.
Mayor, yes.
I believe what the director's saying is he hasn't have one during his term
My turn.
as a director, but there was previously we had employees in previous years. But for this, during my as mayor also, we've tried pushing out the position on previous budget fiscal years, but nobody applied for it because there's two positions that very rare that people come and apply for it. One is the forestry and the soil and water. But through I think there's an effort driven by the local organizations, and there is a push for I believe federally funded position also, and it's not only for Tinian; it goes to the three main islands. Um, and that's where we're at. But we've never really filled that in because it's not that we don't know, announce, but we've announced and then
There's a challenge of getting somebody.
yeah,
to-
getting the people to apply and work.
Okay. Thank you. Just one more thing before I allow the members to ask their questions. I don't see any surveyor under your division, your department. Is that a hiring issue, or is there's? I mean, do you contract that out?
Mr. Chairman, I was very surprised when I heard that Rhoda has a surveyor. I don't know, ever since I came in the department, because I worked for the department back in the early 90s, and there was no surveyor at all. So we just don't put that down because I never thought of the LNR having a surveyor. They always have the, what they call that on Saipan, lands and survey. So I'm always thinking that they do the surveying, not the department. But I believe I heard it when you guys are on Rhoda, but there was a surveyor for Rhoda. I don't know if I'm right or wrong.
Yeah, and you don't even have that division listed.
No,
So how do you contract that out? Any surveying services?
we never did anything as far as surveyor surveying.
So whenever we have identified or land to be designated, it's always been DPO that comes down here and does the surveying. If there's uh, it's DPO that does it.
DPL?
DPO.
Okay.
And I wanted to, since we mentioned about the DPO, I heard about the program where DPO and DLNR parks uh, branched out, and they start moving, shifting some of their personnel over to be taken care by DPO. And one of the things I discussed with I believe previous Senator Sixto, who was the previous secretary, and one of the issues is funding, and uh, that discussion was during the COVID, and of course we had the reduce of hours, and people were laid off, and that's when the shift happened. Last year, I asked if that still could be possible, but my discussion with him was to ask the senators and the legislature to include it in the budget and to amend their proposal when they submit their. So he has some direction as to how do approach it, because at that time I think it was just an order from the governor to shift this personnel over to DPO and cover them, and it was under the declaration. But now, when the declaration is gone, there's no authorization for him for to address my concern of what had taken place.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask if that shift of 50% cover was through legislation or was just an understanding
It
between.
was an MOA between I'm assuming now um, Secretary Sylvan, because it's being they're addressing that even in the next fiscal year. We've attempted to through a provision to include the other two islands to be covered under that same mechanism, but that was vetoed because again there wasn't any MOA in place like how Saipan has that MOA with DPL. So I think that will probably be the first step in trying to see with DPL to get an agreement to cover that 50%, provided that the Parks and Recs would also address some of the DPL sites. And so maybe you have to come up with that arrangement with Secretary Santos. Um, I'll try to see how Saipan did it. I'll try to get a copy of their agreement if that's something that's still in place, and try to see how we can apply that to Road and Tinian, but also to begin that discussions with Secretary Santos.
Mr. Chairman and members, when the hot funds was not suspended, uh, all of the sites were taken care of. We don't have to all gang up, because when he's saying that we're assisting MVA, this is not only DLNR. This is from DLNR, HPO, Mayor's Office, and MVA. We put like I believe like 15 to 20 personnel, and then we just go on sites and designate them and all do our part. No, but just imagine over 80 sites, 80 tourist sites that you need to come around every 2 weeks, and you only have the agencies that are really responsible for this is MVA and Dilenar. While you're talking about three staff that takes care the farmers, the ranchers, and then to take care of the sites, it's overwhelming for them. And at the same time, to cut and to have shortfall of these fundings that are necessary for them to, to continue the process and the work week every 2 weeks go around. It they come to me. At the end of the day, they come to me because they run out of funds, and these funds were meant to not really go to tourist sites. Their job is to parks, only parks, not go to back to Japanese shrine and then clean that, and then go to American Memorial and clean that. Those are supposed to be taken care of, are not other entities. But we're trying. We're doing our best, but hope we can consider their request, and we just continue to collaborate with other agencies.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'll certainly try to get that MOA so that we can kind of see how they can extend that assistance to Tinian. At this time, I recognize any members with it. Um, recognize Senator Carl.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, Director. Good morning, Deputy. Thank you all for making the time to be this morning, or good afternoon, rather. Um, I ha- Chairman Manglonia touched on a lot of details. I just had a couple of quick questions with regards to the conservation, fish and wildlife conservation, and the officers. Um, you mentioned that you've been getting reports that there are scuba divers who are now fishing. You guys don't have the ability to go into the water and enforce on behalf of fish and wildlife. Could you give us a picture of how you're able? So you currently have two under the conservation.
Two, and they're both certified divers also.
Okay, and so they're responsible for obviously both the land and water.
Yes.
And have you been noticing an uptick on, like, how could you give us an idea on how you utilize these two to patrol and enforce all of the fish and wildlife mandates on the island of Tinian?
You know, it's hard for one person to do a shift, to work 8 hours by alone. It never happened yet, but God forbid that someday it's going to happen, So that's why we're asking for three more so we can partner up at least two per shift. And it's very hard, I'm telling you, because we do boat inspections. If they're going to Goat Island, we inspect the boat. What kind of guns are they carrying to Goat Island? Are they registered? And also coming back, they do inspect the boat. So most of the guys traveling to Goat Island will be on weekends. So we have to stagger among the two who works from Tuesday to the weekend, and then the other guys cover the other 7 days. So it's very hard. That's why we ask for three more.
So with that in consideration, do you guys find yourself often running into overtime with those employees specifically, or is that something that you guys don't approve?
We are struggling to meet the demand of our local laws and the federal laws. There'll be times when they call us, there's a poacher on Goat Island, and we would use DPS boat, but we provide the fuel because even them, they're struggling for fuel. So we provide the fuel, and then we go down there, and they're gone. By the time we get there, we have to look for the operator of the boat and then get the fuel. So it's a tough job for fish and wildlife people.
Understood. With regards to going back to the scuba fishing, So obviously there's an uptick. Do you guys see a reflection in violations that are being enforced, collected, fines that are levied over the years, or is this something? Obviously, the manner by which people are doing this is changing. Are you guys ready and able to adapt to the new modes that people are trying to violate these mandates?
We'll be ready once we get the boat up and running. Um, in fact, there are people hunting on the east side of Tinian, and they'll call me at times at night that there's people scuba diving back there. According to Saipan, if cases like that happen, I would call them to intercept the boat on Saipan. So, but I mean, it's hard without us having a boat here to at least see the numbers of the boat and see the personnel in the water. Like I said, we got 2 certified divers, and they can also dive if they do drop some evidence in the water. That was the main purpose of me letting these 2 individuals go through the scuba diving classes.
Thank you for that. You for now, Chair.
Thank you. Sorry, just an update, and I council just shared this. So at least with the DPL, it's proposed again for next fiscal year, and there is a provision that would allow for an MOU between DPL to maintain or to fund 50% of your Parks and Rec. So hopefully, I mean, we'll see what the result of the governor's action will be. But I think this is something that we can and maybe agree with in the Senate, but we'll certainly have it up for discussion to try to keep that in there. Any other members? Recognize Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, Mr. Bora. Sujus Masi, for sharing with us the challenges that your department is faced with. I can only imagine, the hardship that your staff and yourself are struggling to deal with in doing your jobs. But I'm curious, have you reached out to Secretary Igisomer to share with him the struggles that you face and how Saipan can assist?
Not yet, Madam, but we're gonna go to Saipan and meet with him and discuss, because when he came down to Tinian, I told him we shall meet and discuss whatever Tinian is facing. And he said, okay, he'll let me know of the date and time. So I'm going to Saipan on Monday, and hopefully I will see him because I'm going to Saipan to bring the boat to Tinian. So hopefully he's there, and or I'll go to his office and start, connecting with him, so I can see whatever help he can help me.
So you are going to get a boat after all? Or is that
I'm
something that...
excited but nervous at the same time. The boat they're giving me don't have a trailer. So I told Saipan Marina personnel that if the water, or if we have a typhoon coming, I would bring the boat to Saipan and
So,
put it in their marina.
so is the boat operable, or are they giving you just the bare bones again,
skeleton.
the skeleton like they did before? Do you know?
When they told me, when they first told me that I will get the boat, they said they will service it and then hand it over to me. They said everything is running, but they'll service the engine and then hand it over to us. Now that size of boat will need quite a substantial amount of money to operate. Even a small boat, it's costly. But at least with the diesel engine, we spend less diesel. I mean, fuel.
So you need a trailer for that boat And how much is something like that gonna? How much would you need for a trailer?
I haven't checked on that yet because, like I said, when we submitted the budget, I don't have any. I mean, I haven't got this offer yet. So now that we got this offer, I spoke with our municipal council and because the chairman for the municipal council works for the aging. So I asked her, I mean, to see if she can find money to buy us a trailer, and she said, "Let me talk to the mayor." So everything falls to the mayor.
Yes. Okay. Well, maybe if you could look into how much a trailer would cost, and let the committee know so that we can take that into consideration. Um,
So right now, officially, what Delenor has is a small. How many footer? But how many footer? 19 footer. The passport. Passport. The passport boat is used to belong to DPS, and that was when I was still in high school in the 80s. This boat was purchased in the 80s, and I believe if you look back in the history of Rhoda, it was both Rhoda and Tinian were bought the same boat. And then when DPS got the Zodiac, DPS gave that boat to Fish and Wildlife. It was in working condition until last year, a year and a half ago, when somebody messed up the engine, sabotaged the engine, and brand new engine. So we parked that, and then last year, the old Zodiac for DPS Tinian was recalled to Saipan, and then they gave us this Hurricane, this boat now, that new boat that DPS Body Safety is using. However, I requested the old Zodiac to, if they can consider and give it to the municipality for the fish and wildlife. They did, but when the process of transferring this boat, they took out the engines, they took out the navigational system, the steering, they took out the siren, everything that is can be removed. Even the door for the cabinet was taken. So I said, okay, be as it may, I will deal with it because he had ARPA then. So we negotiated with the Roland Johnson. What would be the perfect engine to put and fit and tailor and fix all of these things? So it amounted up to like 40 some $1,000. He had that money. So we negotiated. Roland purchased the two engines. The company purchased the two engines. Each is coming, but at the same time, they took away his ARPA. So now we're caught in a bind of legal. We might end up in court to kind of figure these things out because he doesn't have money now to purchase to to take himself out of this arrangement. But you know, Department of Fish and Division of Fish and Wildlife gets so much grants every year, and this is where the municipality, and I know it's the same as Rhoda, it does not. Those grants don't really trickle down to the municipalities, and that's where we have a problem. And these people that make decisions are not putting Tinian and Rhoda in their priorities, because if you do, we won't be talking about these things. It should be considered in any review of or submission of a budget. There should be, if data from Tinian and Rhoda have been driven and used to justify those grants, then we don't want a half of it. We certainly want 1% of it because those grants are being used to justify their needs. And when they go out there and reach to these grants, they say cinema white.
Yes.
But when the money comes down here, it stays to a particular senatorial district, and that cannot continue to happen. I really feel bad for them, and I told him, you can get that big boat, but then again, you will have a problem when it comes to filling and maintaining that big boat because now you gotta think if you're gonna roll out the boat or you're gonna roll out the tractor because the amount of fuel that you're justifying does not include that feeling of that big boat, and that big boat used to operate out of Rhoda. that boat was being transporting cargo to and from Saipan to Roda. Just to shed some lights on their boating situation.
Sure.
I want to resolve that. I want to fix that Zodiac because it's more so designed for enforcement. It has the speed, capacity to pull, and accessible for diving on all those stuff that you can do out there in open water, not with the small passport and the big boat. The big boat is more considered for cargo, and that's
I'm just curious, Mr. Borja, how frequently do you communicate with your counterparts, let's say, for instance, in Saipan, to discuss? I mean, when you talk about Division of Fish and Wildlife, I perceive it to be CNMI wide. So, do you guys spend time sitting down and talking, sharing stories with each other as to what the needs are to fulfill the mandates of what the law requires, so that it's a CNMI wide and not a Tinian issue or a Saipan issue or a Rhoda issue?
I used to communicate with him, but I stopped because he don't listen. Never listen.
Are you referring to Mr. Igasumar?
No, the director of
Oh, the
Fish and
director of
Wildlife.
fish. Okay. Okay.
He never listened to what I asked him. In fact, on that couple of $1 million that was given by Kalili for the CNMI, I called him up and asked him if Tinian and Rhoda has a share because I always include Rhoda. If I ask for money, I make sure that Rhoda is involved. He told me that that money belongs to him on Saipan, so that's when I stopped communicating with him because even on the JE, the joint enforcement thing that they have on Saipan at one time, this is when they let the Fish and Wildlife go out and survey the people's cats in the water. They're getting federal funding for that. So I just so happened to be on Saipan when the person in charge of the JEA for joint enforcement came over to Saipan, and I was with the director, and he welcomed me to join their meeting, and that's when I raised the issue about Tinian and Rhoda. I said, how come we don't have this? So they told me, okay, we're gonna add you on, but then they took the funding. I mean, I don't know what happened that they took that funding away from the director, so he doesn't have any more funding for the enforcement, JA enforcement, they call it. But that was just to do surveys on the fish cats out there, and they get overtime. Us, we never had overtime on the fish and wildlife here. Oh, and while I still remember, there was a law at one time, 4-44, I believe, when whatever is collected on Saipan must share with Rhoda and Tinian, 15% for Tinian, 15% for Rhoda. Before it was 10% for Tinian and 10% for Rhoda, but we haven't seen any money. But there was a law, 40-44. I mean 4-44.
Okay. To do Smasi for that. Just one more question. So under Parks and Recs, you mentioned that you are helping MVA with the grounds maintenance, right, across the island. And I was just curious, how are these expenses being funded? Is it through the mayor? Um,
Many times that we ask the mayor for fuel, and MBA at times sometimes they provide fuel, but maybe like 5 gallon a day, and you use the tractor for the whole day to clean 30 sites, for example. That's not enough.
yeah.
So the most critical part is the fuel and lubrication, for the department.
Okay. Well, here's what I can offer. I can try to reach out to MVA and DPL, similarly to what the chairman has shared, and to start the discussion of assisting Tinian with the needs, because everything costs money, and We cannot continue to rely on the mayor's budget to fund everything. While I do appreciate the mayor's generosity and compassion, I must say that, being here and hearing all the testimonies that from all the different departments and agencies, Tinian is such a unified municipality, and it's very admirable. And I hope that, the departments and agencies in Saipan are listening in, because this is definitely something that the entire CNMI must try to work together. So thank you for your time, and I will make a personal promise to reach out to MVA and Secretary Santos to see how we can better assist the municipality of Tinian. Thank you.
Thank you
I
for
yield,
that,
Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I recognize Senator Schneider.
Thank you, Chair. And I know that you asked for 1 o'clock, but I think we're going moving past that. Just quickly on the operational side of things, Director and Dept, good morning. Two things. With the increase in activities of inbound ports on both extremes, airport, seaport, what level of responsibility are you guys mandated to perform?
At one time, we were responsible for the Rhino project, but right now it's under the
Okay.
customs and
Yeah, we
homeland.
learned that yesterday, but I'm gonna just to gonna be specific. The brown tree snake. I know there's a lot of containers coming in for the phase 1 and phase 2 of the divert, and then others projects. How are you guys handling BTS, and how are you guys addressing that?
Okay, the BTS personnel is under the federal. They're contracted on a yearly basis. I have no jurisdiction over that. Saipan, Director of Fish and Wildlife, is the one responsible for that.
So, do you have anybody here?
Not right now. No.
So, how are we addressing the?
What they do whenever the military cargo planes are coming, they will send their own personnel from Guam to monitor the snake. Uh, as per my conversation with Secretary Gesomar, and I think the mayor was there too when he mentioned that he's going to provide two. In fact, I think they're announcing it right now, two full-time positions, because the first
Tinian?
time, yeah,
Okay.
the first time it's a part-time. So
Okay.
how can you do
Okay.
inspection on a part-time basis?
And I'm glad that you mentioned that, Director, because and I guess the show must go on whether we have the personnel here or not.
Mm.
I ran into a very hardworking gentleman from Saipan, and I was asking him, so why are you here? I said, meeting the
The rat.
the cargos. And I said,
Oh.
then it caught wind that obviously there's nobody here. So that's the reason why I'm asking this, is to kind of cross check. And I have nothing against the working together mechanism, but it's not sustainable. I think the invasive species are not going to sleep because our port enforcement are not here. They're gonna wake up at night, even though whether we're sleeping or not. You know what I mean, right? I'm not
Yes, yes.
sounding. Forgive me for sounding sarcastic, but
I like that.
I think it's important that we build capacity and continue reaching out to Secretary Iggy Somar. Reach out. They're ramping up. It's not slowing down, and we really need to ensure that the invasive species of what have you that is not here on Tinian and Saipan for that matter, and Rhoda, is not going to be introduced into the island, because that is only going to exacerbate the problem of needing funds to address crisis management. So I implore. I mean, I cannot overemphasize the need. And if it's federal funds, that it's not under the watch of the cinema legislature, then run with it and aggressively pursue that so that they can board that. And if there is a provision in the civil service in the OPM that you can do an emergency hire because of the situation, then please put it in writing and ask the secretary. And I cannot overemphasize the need for you new directors and the deputy to do this, because
I can do request that to the secretary But like I just said, the snake program or project is under Saipan. In fact,
I understand, Director, but again, I cannot over dispense. So na I'm
I know.
interjecting. My other thing, na, Director, is the Federal no no. I know that I lost my train of thought here, and forgive me. Stuck lang niya lang binti tao to. No, but yeah, fish and wildlife. The BTS is very critical, and also, and I remember Mayor, and I stand corrected. I didn't mean to mention this, but I think it's kind of odd to have a a contractor be providing the services for an enforcement when in fact it should be the other way around. It's unheard of, Mr. Chairman. So I'm wondering what are we missing here? Is this the way we do business nowadays in the and I think it's important this community to know that these are the things that the challenges that the agencies are going through, and they cannot drive up to Capitol Hill or to all the agencies to seek and knock on the door. If they don't answer the phone, they don't answer the email. This is the kind of revelation we get on the floor. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I don't mean to pipe up, but it kind of, because this is kind of like a regular thing already, and it's not right. Tinian's situation right now with the ports is very critical. So we need to have those BTS people on board yesterday.
If I may, Chair, uh, you know how small our island is for a single rhino beetle to come out here and start producing. Lucky that Rhoda kind of like captured, already start kind of taking control of that. But you eventually reach out because you cannot really keep them. Guam is a example for the rhino beetle and the snake, no, and we've seen it. It's on the newspaper. It was a couple months ago when the snake. Lucky he or she bought a round trip ticket and he made it back to Guam. But that in itself is a testament of we are not protecting our borders, and I give uh, 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 high regards to the people that are trying their best. But when a system is not being watched and being carefully pushed out, this is a negligent. They terminated the only person who is certified to certify canine for brown tree snake, who is uh, from Tinian. For whatever reason, the problem is that you cannot continue to add on your department to add on negative. Everything is it's not working. So took him out, announced a position uh, for 4 hours a day in the midst of a development going on the island of Tinian. And every week we have cargoes and containers in the hundreds coming in. And then you neglect to address the issue of making sure that there's rhino beetle personnel and no quarantine and brown tree snake. You know, we keep on losing our assets and we keep on losing our self to do these things on our own, which are being well provided by the federal government. We don't really budget this brown tree and rhino beetle. These are grants that are pushed out, literally given to the Department of Fish and Wildlife, but they need to stay on course and do their job. And I have nothing against the people, the folks that do these things. It's the person who's running this thing. We have a problem. We have a marina where it's not been built. They gave the Division of Fish and Wildlife since 2019 to finish our marina. Approved, and the money is transferred. They keep on dicking around and telling us that we're going to do, we're going to do, we're going to do. When are you going to do the marina? I told them that I'm going to finish asphalting and building pavilions on our marina before you even touch ground with your repair of our marina. Today, we ribbon cut the marina, the project, the surface project of marina. We haven't seen fish and wildlife. Nothing. The guy don't care. I don't know why he's still there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is there other than? I mean, maybe we'll put it on record. Who is in charge of the BTS program? No, but which individual is in charge of BTS program?
Director Panglinan is in charge of the
Okay, thank you.
I mean,
Thank
the brown tree snake program.
Thank you. Recognize Senator Mendiola.
Mr. Mayor, just wanted to say because you keep pointing, I just want to make sure Tigo, don't be mad at me. So I'm here to hear budget. So I just want to put that out there and kind of kill the fire a little bit. So it's when the hands started going like this, like tamang biyagang yung started arms.
Whenever I hope you understand my side. Whenever you reach out and then your hand starts to get cut.
Oh, I agree.
So
I agree, Mr. Mayor. I
really-
totally agree.
It really frustrates me, and I think I'm a very well off person. I'm very open. I can communicate, and we can move as long as we move forward. I am fine.
Oh, I agree, Mr. Mayor. I can tell you that coming from our, municipality too, our mayor stresses her frustration, and we sit here and we listen to all these dismay, and it's just very disheartening. We try and be equal throughout the CNMI and try to provide for everybody as best as we could. But when you start raising that and it starts getting heated a little bit, I just want to make sure now, Mr.
I
Mayor,
apologize.
Tigo, I'm just here to listen for budget. So, thank you for now.
Thank you. Recognize Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director and Dept, I heard earlier that you have a couple of revolving fund. Do you have any direct access for the usage of that revolving fund? Just kind of wondering, your record versus their record is not the same. So that means you don't have any direct access to that revolving fund? Yeah, those revolving fund that you mentioned, that you mentioned earlier, that this is not matching your record versus the Mooney's record. No, and I'm just wondering, because I understand that revolving is supposed to be used for that particular project. No, like for example, mowing, agriculture, and ranches, you're giving services to them. I'm just wondering how much the cost of fuel that you're spending, and how much that you are being budgeted, and if you're not authorized to use the revolving, then how can you be able to continue the services? Do you have to wait for whoever is in control of that revolving fund? You have to wait for that person to authorize for you guys to use the revolving fund?
Yes, Senator Cruz, during the time of JD Edwards system, when it wasn't enough to the general funds, we were tapping also the agriculture equipment revolving fund. When we tap into that funding, we, according to the statute, yes, we're mostly using it for fuel and parts. And if prior to transition into the munis, if I'm not mistaken, the total that we tapped into that funding was 13 grand, if I'm not mistaken.
So,
That was
so
during the time of the JD Edwards.
I'm just trying to clarify whether you have direct
Yeah.
or do Saipan, like for example, if it's on wildlife collection, no, I'm going to the fees that you're collecting. And I remember one time when we brought Director Panglinan, when we had that, I think that was last year budget hearing, when we asked in this particular courtroom that revolving fund for fish and wildlife is directly to be used for your department and not going up to to Saipan for them to dictate how you guys going to use that. Because the reason why it goes directly to your department, because in order for the operation to continue, in order to receive grant. So that's why I'm asking whether that still remain the same, that you have direct access to that funding, or do director up there give you the authority to on how much you're supposed to use? I'm just wondering how, because if you were to wait for them and you're using whatever amount of budget that you're given for operation, and that one is short, of course you're always going to ask for fuel under the mayor's office, right?
Okay. Senator, yes, one of my staff has access to the munis. If we're gonna tap into that funding, she has access. We tried already processing, but what's this? It came out with insufficient funding, like the agriculture equipment revolving fund. My staff has access, but because of the funding issues, the request was rejected. So that's why now we, for the agriculture equipment revolving fund, I'm having my staff really to ask finance, you know, for us to compile the data, provide to finance. So, hopefully we can find out what was really should just delay in updating the muni system, or no. That's also what I wanna find out. Thank you, Senator.
Okay, so whatever is collected, it's been used here, only here. Nothing, any amount that is being used somewhere that it's not from your collection.
For the fish and wildlife parts on the collection there, on the what they call the revolving fund, it can only be used for fish and wildlife, like for overtime pay, uniform, but we never had enough to pay overtime. So for uniform and other equipment.
Yeah, okay, I understand, but I'm just trying to clarify whether that funding that you collect here is just used here in Tinian, or some portion of that is used somewhere, or other senatorial.
Senator, it stays here. In fact, I got the report here was generated by our local finance, so that's why I got my figures. So my staff does have the actual access, and the funding stays here.
Mr. Chair, I think the overall recommendation and your proposals, as we move along the budget, these things are locally driven, locally derived revenues, and these should be addressed for the resident director to push out. We don't need munis for this one. The money is being collected here, is specifically been dumped into an account here at our bank. It does not go up to Saipan and then Saipan puts it in an account. It's dumped in our local bank, and then finance Tinian can write a check and issue. I do not know why na deny siya no no insufficient when you have 6,000. How was that? No, so this excuse of account. Believe me, accountability is the forefront of what we do here in terms of our funding, and it just boggles your mind there with a small amount of money and you're being told and you don't have any more. I'm pretty sure that by the end of the day you were counting your money and then you want to make sure that you don't want to spend and how much you can spend. When it's big, you don't care.
Yeah.
But when it's small, you try not to turn it into red. And I agree.
Yeah.
Your proposal of flushing these things and giving it to the municipal, not the municipal, but the resident director to be able to cut a check.
Yeah.
Because it's there.
Thank you. Could this be just a matter of transferring balances over from maybe JD Edwards? Is that where the money is sitting at? Do you know? Or when we first started Munis, did your balance in JD get transferred over and was reflected in the start of Munis? Or Yeah, was there? Did you have a starting balance when Munis first started, and was that accurate as to what your JD Edwards back then was showing?
Uh, I believe, Chairman, that the current balance that's shown in the system is since the transition into the munis, because we have never touched, we never encumbered any funds since the inception of the muni system. We've never touched any revolving fund.
What was your balance from the ending part of JD the same as your beginning balance in Munis? Like, do you know how much your ending balance from JD Edwards was?
Oh,
Was it this
that,
five
unfortunately, Mr.
six
Chairman,
thousand?
I don't have that information, because what my staff compiled was starting fiscal year 2021.
Okay. Does Tinian have a designated individual at finance and accounting, Saipan, to assist with reports? Okay. Okay. Have you requested for a fund status and expenditure report of these revolving fund accounts
With under the munis,
Yeah.
or
under the Munis to track where the money went, or maybe something was being expensed out of the account incorrectly? Have you requested for an expenditure report on your revolving fund accounts?
oh, we never we never requested. I
Okay.
only
Yeah.
got
Maybe
the
we can
balance.
start there, and then if sometimes we, when agencies do that, they see expenses that are incorrectly booked, which is eating up a lot of the funds. I've come across a few departments that have noticed that a stipend personnel was being expensed under a rota account, and so those are some of the things we need to correct. But we want to make sure that their reporting is um, you, you can verify their reporting against what you have in your records. So we can start off there, and then if there's anything that needs to be addressed, and maybe the delegation or even the committee can assist in trying to rectify that. Anything else from the
Will
members?
do, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, if there's no, yes, Councilman.
Chairman, Mr. Chairman, if I may, just want to share some information with the committee under the Division of Fish and Wildlife. Uh, there is a person showing Rebecca, who is a wildlife biologist. Okay, my director told me that this is funded under SIPAN DFW. Right?
Yes.
Okay, right now, this should be the position title should be Conservation Inspector 1. We have announced and closed the position, and we're just now waiting for the NOPA for that applicant to get on board with. We're just waiting for the NOPA for Custom Inspector 1 instead of the wildlife biologist. Now for the Officer 1, 2 positions, thanks to the OPM for their approval. The vacancy of this is doesn't have any expiration closing date, meaning
Until
OPM
filled.
has marked the closing date as until filled. Yeah. That's all, Mr. Chairman, I want to share with the committee.
Okay, sorry, just to clarify, this wildlife biologist position is this a federally funded position, or it's
That's-
just supposed to be paid out of SIPA?
I was very surprised when she came here. And I said, who you working for? She said, Saipan. So we had to provide an office here for her because she was hired under Fish and Wildlife Saipan. I have no assistance from Saipan, even for electricity or any utilities. So
But were you budgeted? So she wasn't even budgeted last fiscal year under your account.
under my account, no. They added her name here I don't know if Saipan added her name in here to try and get us to pay for her. But I did talk to her and ask her, "Are you sure you're on the Saipan?" She said, "Yes, I'm hired stateside." So she was brought to Saipan by DFW Saipan.
Okay, thank you. Senator Ju.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just kind of brings my recollection. I do recall that exercise of hiring, and that is all the exercise of trying to increase the seamless processing of permits for environmental permits. Ne? So, if my recollection serves me right, it must have been like 2 to 3 fiscal years ago where we've made this ask. And I'm just curious. So there was no like an MOU to your office, or at least to the mayor, to say
None.
because no, the reason why it's important, because to my point earlier about making sure that we account for active employees in the budget before the legislature acts on something, because we don't want to defund, hence no pun intended, defund the agency. I mean the employee. And I'm surprised that the the gentle lady, right? It's yeah, is funded under the central department, Division of Fish and Wildlife, but now it's in a account for Tinian's spreadsheet. Is there an accompanying funds there attached, or just the name?
Just the name, I think.
Just
Oh,
funds.
the salary and everything.
So that is, did you account that for your budget request for F 2024?
No, we
No.
do not include this.
Okay, so I suggest that, Mr. Chairman, if I'm in order, if we can cross-check with Director Manny with regards to this and what's the plan, and if it is, we need to tread carefully and make sure that this lady is not without a job come 2024. So, or maybe you guys also can reach out to the office. No, Deb?
I really sat down with this lady because I want to know why she was here, whether she is going to help us speed up the process of the permits. But she said, "No, I'm here as a bird biologist." So and I asked her, "Who funded you?" She said, "Manning." She got hired through Manning.
No, that's a good thing actually. That's a good thing. But we need to clear it, make sure that it's, and also kumugwa dokumento na director the gingwa fa masusedi sa God forbid the masusedi, who's going to be responsible? The mayor, mayor's probably going to fall on the mayor's lap again. We don't want that. We want to avert that. So any documentation is critical here as to the change of custody or whatever the proper terminology. So that's my
Directly
ask.
to Manning. In fact, she just came last week from Saipan. So she was working on Saipan. So I have no control of this lady. She comes and goes whenever she wants to.
Oh, but you're housing the
We're
office,
housing her,
but you have no control.
no control.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Director, Mr. Boyles and Deputy. So
Okay, so to clarify, if let's just say we were to take out Miss Rebecca and place her under DFW Saipan, how many positions are you supposed to have? How many do you have in this fiscal year? 5 still?
5.
So
We would have a total of 5. We request, we have to hire 3. We already hired one, but he hasn't started working yet.
right now we have Palacios and Munya. That's 2.
Munya, those
So
are the
you're
only
you need
two.
you're expecting 3 more.
3 more.
One's in process.
One's in process, 2 waiting to be announced.
Yes, and the other 2 is still being announced right
Right.
now until field.
Okay.
Because like I said, the conservation officer one, there's a lot of applicants, but none of them are eligible according to OPM.
Okay. And when earlier you said you needed 3 more officers, are these the three positions
Those
that
are
you're
the
expecting?
three.
Okay, so not three more in
No.
top of these three that are in process. Okay. All right. Thank you for that clarification. I'll have our analysts look into it to see and maybe communicate with Director Pangilinan. All right. At this time, that concludes our portion with your department, Director Borja. If there's anything we missed, again, please feel free to reach out to the committee. You are hereby excused from today's committee meeting. And at
Thank you
this
very
time, we will take a 45-minute recess and we'll reconvene at 2:30. We're now in recess.